Hello, thank you for watching and finding out why kindness matters, and especially during Molly Week. My name is Carlos Brito, and I'm a student ambassador here at Clovis Community College. Today, I'm joined here with Doug Griffin, Molly Griffin's father. Mr. Griffin, can you go ahead and tell me a little bit about your daughter?
Sure. So Molly Griffin, who Molly Week is named after, is my daughter. Molly was living a really vibrant life. She was highly loved, had many friends, had completed her education both through Clovis Community College and at Fresno State. She had gotten her degree in nursing and was working at Madera Community Hospital, volunteering her time, getting ready to buy her first home at age 23, when out of nowhere one Saturday night, her life was taken from us by a drunk driver. Coming out of that, and with the cooperation of many, we started Molly Day on her birthday, which is August 26th, to help celebrate her life, which was a life of goodness, of love, and of kindness. And here at Clovis Community College, where my wife Doris was the Dean of Students, you folks have created Molly Week, which is a week for all of us to engage in specific acts of kindness.
Awesome. Thank you for sharing that. And thank you so much. And you must have been very proud. So my next question here today is, why kindness, and why would that be Molly's legacy?
I'd like to kind of start with a favorite lyric of mine written by a poet-songwriter, and the words go like this. These times are so uncertain, there's a yearning undefined, people filled with rage. We all need a little tenderness. How can love survive in such a graceless age? The trust and self-assurance that lead to happiness, they're the very things we kill, I guess. Our pride and competition cannot fill these empty arms, and the work I put between us, it doesn't keep me warm. I'm learning to live without you now, but I miss you sometimes. The more I know, the less I understand. All the things I thought I'd figured out, I have to learn again. I've been trying to get down to the heart of the matter, but my will gets weak and my thoughts seem to scatter. But I think it's about forgiveness. These lyrics sound like something that might have been written this week in light of what's going on in our culture and our world. But the reality was this was written in 1988, 33 years ago. And as I think about those words, I think about my daughter, and I think about kindness. Now, kindness can take many forms. And for me and my family, particularly with the story of Molly, of losing our daughter to a drunk driver, kindness indeed came about in the form of forgiveness. Now, at its heart, kindness is, of course, about showing love for your fellow man. In our Western culture, this is shown so often in the biblical accounts, which are, of course, many thousands of years old. We see it in ancient stories of Naomi and Ruth. Imagine a woman married to a man of a different race. In those days, the husband was the only source of support for the family. He dies, and she's left. The mother and daughter are left together, trying to figure out how to make a living. And the daughter Ruth is still young enough to start her life over again, and yet she's implored to do so by her mother-in-law Naomi to return home to her own people. But Ruth said, "Do not plead with me to leave, for where you go, I will go, and where you sleep, I will sleep. Your people shall be my people, and your God, my God." You see it in the parable of the Good Samaritan, a man of one race stopping to help a man of another race who had been beaten up and left for dead by the side of the road. You see it in the incredible axiom that greater love has no man than he who would lay down his life for his friends. I think of this often in terms of the greatest generation and my grandfather and the men who stormed the beaches in World War II, or of Dr. King being willing to be martyred for justice. And then I think of the concept of empathy, of actual love for your fellow man, not conditionally, but because of who they are. And this includes our enemies. We're taught in essence that anybody can love those who love them, or be kind to those that you feel good about. But a more perfect moral living requires living at a higher standard to actually love your enemies.
Thank you for that, Mr. Griffin. And my final question for you today is, how did Molly's legacy of kindness affect you and your family in dealing with her passing?
Well, for me, when Molly died, and of course it was quite the shocking event, what choice did I have? Well, I saw it as I could be bitter, I could be filled with hatred, I could want revenge, or I could have love for a man who many would consider my enemy, that I could express kindness and forgive. So I resorted to what I knew. I knew my daughter and her character, and I know those moral principles I just discussed. So whether one has faith or not, living by those principles, what I like to think of as living like Molly, was really the only answer. So we started Molly Day, and now here we are 6 years later. Knowing her character as a nurse, I'm quite sure that, like so many of our first responders, the nurses and doctors, the police, etc., she would be one of those nurses that would be there holding the hand of the dying COVID patient, isolated and without their family. She'd be working those ridiculously long hours. She would be there risking her own health. So Molly Day is to celebrate that kind of character. We want to celebrate her birthday and remember her life, about how she lived and how she loved, and not just on how she was taken from us so early. So in my family's life, the ultimate kindness has taken two forms. The second was the forgiveness for Hector. That was the name of the driver. We forgave him both publicly in the media as well as during the court hearing when he was sentenced. And I would just encourage any of you who are listening to this to think about creating empathy for others. And then when you feel that, to actually have some courage to act in the interest of another instead of just your own. The first act of kindness happened 8 years before that, though, and then that's when my wife and I and Molly traveled to China to answer a calling on our hearts to go and adopt a 2-year-old little orphan girl. Our Paige, who's now in high school, was Molly's dear little sister. Little did I know that it was that first major act of kindness that would help expand my heart enough to allow for the second, even in the face of unspeakable pain. And now, 30 years after Molly's birth, next week on the 26th, her life is still vibrant, still living through a legacy of kindness.
Thank you, Mr. Griffin. We really appreciate you coming on and telling us about Molly and her story and talking to us about her legacy of kindness. Thank you to everyone who watched this video. Just a reminder, Clovis Community College has a full week of activities for this week, Molly Week, that promotes kindness and giving back. This includes a blood drive tomorrow, a book drive Wednesday through Friday, and a food giveaway at our food pantry on Thursday. Please visit our website, cloviscollege.edu, for more details and information. Again, thank you all, and please don't forget to be kind to each other. Thank you.